Good day, everyone. My name is Markel Randy Bartolome, and today we will be reporting transnational religion and multiple localizations. So we are the Group 5. The members include Don Baldosa, Jana Balia, Jas Balwarte, Mark Bartolome, Amina Malik, Ludwig Gayapa, K.M. Prado, Miko Rabino, and Josh Tan. So this is the table of contents. What is transnational religion? The basic definition and history, immigration and religion, and religious universalism and local particularism. Second is transnational religious communities, the formation and function, cultural adaptation, religious transnationalism. Lastly is what is globalization? Basic definition and history, Easternization of the West, forms of local religion. So let's move on. So, what is transnational religion? Transnational religion refers to religious beliefs, practices, and institutions that transcend national boundaries, often as a result of migration, globalization, and advanced communication technologies. This religion maintains connection across countries, fostering a shared identity and community among adhere despite geological separation. So, ang idea na ito ay mga religion na nagtatranscend sa isang state. Bali, iba't ibang same religion, iba't ibang lugar. For example, yung Christianity comes from Europe, pero around the world mayroon na ring Christianity. So let's move on. What is the ito pa isang definition. Transnational religious communities often arise from the movement of people and their traditions across borders, leading to establishment of congregational and religious network that spans multiple countries. This phenomenon allows the exchange of religious ideas and practices, creating a dynamic and interconnected religious landscape that is not confined to a single nation state. Usually, yung transnational religion, nagsistem to sa immigration. We will focus more on that on the next slide. History. Post-World War II spread of religion. The phenomenon of transnational religion expanded significantly after World War II, driven by factors such as increased global migration, decolonization, and advancement in communication technologies. After World War II, madaming tao na displaced. With this, na-displace rin yung kanilang religion. Usually, ang ginawa nila is nagkumpulan sa isang location and nag-build sila ng sarili nilang communities there, usually focused around their religion. So, next is the explosion of Protestantism in Latin America. A notable example of this trend is the rapid growth of Protestantism in Latin America, a region historically dominated by Catholicism. This religious transformation began in its earnest in the mid-20th century and had a profound impact on the region's religious landscape. Nangyari dito is, before, nasakop ng European countries ang Latin America. However, nagkaroon ng boom or pagdami ng Protestantism due to sa mga missionaries from America around that time. And since mas favor pala kanila yung idea of Protestantism and feeling nila mas closer sa beliefs nila yon, naging patok or mas nagdominate sa Latin America. Next is Islamic transnationalism in Asia. In South and Southeast Asia, Sufi brotherhoods, renewalist movement, and Islamic parties and charitable organizations have played a crucial role in creating dynamic religious landscape that integrates local tradition with global Islamic ideas. So what happened here is nagkaroon rin ng boom ng Islamic movement sa Asia. Ang popular example na mabibigay ko dito is nag-boom rin yung Islamic movement around Taguig since madaming nag-move na businessmen and people looking for an opportunity before. So, kaya nagkaroon rin dun sa Maharlika ng madaming tao as such. So, lastly is the impact of modern communication technology. The rise of modern communication technology and media has facilitated the maintenance and connection of religious ideas across borders, contributing to a global religious society. Now, ngayon, mas napalawak na yung transnational religion while still maintaining their beliefs sa kanilang homeland. Ay tayo, for example, meron tayong OFW na family na close pa rin natin sila ay nakakasama if we do have any prayers or ritual via communication online. So, ayun lang yung part sa topic ko. The next reporter would be Ludwig Gayapa. So,
So, hello everyone. For the next topic naman, ang i-discuss natin is about immigration and religion. So, para magkaroon tayo ng better understanding about the topic, bibigyan ko kayo ng definition each. So, pag sinabi nating immigration, ito yung paglipat ng isang tao or ng grupo ng tao papunta sa ibang lugar or ibang bansa. Mayroon iba't ibang factors or reason para manirahan or lumipat sila do'n permanently. Puwedeng pasok dito is yung kanilang pag-aaral or yung kanilang education, yung mga opportunities sa trabaho, or puwede ring gusto nilang kunwaring umiwas sa gulo na nangyayari do'n sa pinagmulan nila or may war. Puwede rin naman, halimbawa may relationship sila with the other part of the family or members of the family sa ibang bansa or kaya may partner sila do'n. So, napakaraming factors or reason kung bakit nag-i-immigrate or maraming immigrants sa ibang bansa. So, next naman, yung religion naman, ang definition ng religion is isa siyang sistema ng pagsamba or pag-worship ng isang tao or grupo ng mga tao na kadalasan nakasentro to sa isang Diyos or sa mga Diyos. Pwedeng nilalaman nito is yung mga kasanayan, mga kaugalian, paniniwala, or ritual na kadalasan ginagamit natin upang magkaroon tayo ng moral at etikal na pamumuhay or kadalasan ito rin yung nagbibigay sa atin ng layunin sa buhay natin bilang isang tao. So, kagaya ng makikita nating image dito sa gilid which is nakalagay, God needs no passport. So, sa madaling sabi, yung Panginoon or yung religion natin in general, hindi niya na nun kailangan ng pasaporte or passport. Ibig sabihin nito, hindi nalilimit ng boundaries or ng border ng isang bansa or ng isang lugar yung pananampalataya ng mga tao. So kadalasan, yung religion natin pwede siyang lumipat or maipalaganap natin or maipa-impluwensya natin sa iba't ibang lugar and hindi talaga naghihinder yung boundaries ng iba't ibang lugar ng iba't ibang bansa. Kaya tinatawag natin 'tong God needs no passport. Kasi kadalasan through immigration, ito yung nagiging way para maipalaganap natin yung ating religion with the other countries. So yun yung libro ni Peggy Levitt na noong 2007. So next tayo. So ito yung mga connection of immigration and religion. So first bullet tayo. The presence of diverse immigrant communities leads to increased religious pluralism in host countries. So, sa madaling sabi, ang religion is nakatutulong na pataasin yung religion pluralism. So, ano nga ba yung religious pluralism? Ito yung may iba't ibang bilang ng relihiyon sa iisang lugar or sa iisang bansa. And bakit for some reason positive to? Nagiging positive to in a way na parang pino-prove nito na kayang manirahan or mamuhay ng sama-sama sa isang lugar o sa isang bansa yung may iba't ibang religion. Kumbaga nagkakaroon tayo ng open sa paniniwala or nagkakaroon ng ugnayan or interaction or nandun na rin yung respect sa iba't ibang religion sa loob ng isang country or ng isang bansa since iba't ibang religion meron yung naandon or yung tinatawag na nating religion pluralism. So next bullet is for many immigrants, religious serve as a cornerstone of identity and means of preserving cultural heritage. Kagaya kanina, 'di ba, yung religion, ito yung nagiging identity natin or pagkakakilanlan natin, especially if nasa ibang bansa ka. So, ito yung nagbibigay sa atin ng pakiramdam na kasama tayo sa isang grupo or nakakatulong tayo sa kanila, knowing that iba yung environment or iba-iba din yung paniniwala dun sa ibang bansa. So, yun yung nagbibigay ng identity sa atin. Next bullet tayo. Immigrants often adopt their religious practices to fit the context of their host countries. So, dito naman, syempre may mga times na magagamit na rin natin yung ways or like traditions or practices ng ibang bansa or ibang religion, knowing na maninirahan tayo dun permanently sa isang lugar or sa isang bansa. So, naihalo natin siya doon sa kung ano yung mga ways na meron yung religion natin or tinatawag tong hybridization. Maganda 'to in a way na napapanatili natin yung religion natin, kung ano yung pinagmulan natin habang nagkakaroon tayo ng pakikisama or marunong tayong makisama doon sa pinuntahan nating lugar and yung religion na kadalasan common doon sa lugar na yon or sa pinuntahan nating country. So, next bullet tayo. So, Levitt discusses the role of global religious networks in shaping the experience of immigrants. Ganyan. So, dito naman sa last bullet, mahalaga yung global religious network kasi naiimpluwensyahan niya yung mga immigrant in their own way of pag-practice ng religion na yon, since napapanatili nila yung connection nila sa sarili nilang tradisyon while nag-a-adjust sila sa mga bagong lugar or tirahan. So, yung pinaka-connection ng immigration and religion through yung religion kasi ito yung nagbibigay sa atin ng identity or ito yung bumubuo ng community doon sa ibang bansa, knowing that na pupunta tayo sa isang lugar na unfamiliar and kadalasan wala talaga tayong kilala doon. So yung religion na yun, ito yung nagbubuo-buo doon or nagbibigay ng connection sa iba't ibang tao na may same identity, same religion na mag-build at gawin nila yung nagkaroon ng connection dun sa country na yon. So, yun lang and thank you for listening. So, next naman na tayo.
Good day, everyone. I'll be discussing what is religious universalism. So, religious universalism is the belief that all human beings will ultimately be saved or reconciled. In other words, this universalism is isang paniniwala ng mga relihiyon. Ayan, makikita nyo dito iba't ibang relihiyon. Mayroon Jews, Christianity, and Islam. Those beliefs, naniniwala sila na kahit anong relihiyon mo, kahit saan sumunod, kung sino man ang Diyos mo, lahat yon ay ma-save or reconciled. This concept can be found in various forms across different religious traditions, each with its own interpretation and theological grounding. Well, nakadepende din sa relihiyon nila kung ano yung paniniwala nila dito sa universalism na to. So, next page tayo. Universalism in other religions. Pagdating naman sa iba't ibang relihiyon, tulad ng Hindu, naniniwala naman sila na lahat na relihiyon is napupunta or merong path na papunta sa ultimate reality, which is yung Brahman. Kahit na iba't iba yung iba't iba yung practice nila, yun yung ano nila, parang paniniwala na iisa lang yung pupuntahan. Especially yan sa Vedanta traditions. Next is Buddhism. Well, sa Buddhism naman is naniniwala sila na all beings, often referred to as Bodhisattva path, where individuals vow to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Alam naman natin na sa Buddhism is si Buddha yung path nila, kumbaga kung ano yung ginawa ni Buddha, yung anong ginawa niya sa buhay niya na nabubuhay pa siya, yun yung way kung paano makapunta sa enlightenment. Bali, ito yung Buddhist path na kailangan nilang sundin para yun, mapunta sila kung saan sila naniniwala. Next is Christianity. Well, alam naman natin na yung Christianity, may report po na ang Christianity ay naniniwala lamang na si Jesus Christ is the way to the God. Bali, siya yung maiging mapa natin. Pag hindi natin kilala si Jesus sa buhay, isa lang yung nun, parang maliligaw tayo sa landas natin papunta sa heaven. Well, ganun lang yung universalism sa Christianity. Ito naman tayo sa Islam, which is yung mga Muslim. Yun, strict din yung Muslim sa Islam sa ganito. Hindi nila sinusuportan yung universalism. They believe in monotheism, which is one God only, which is Allah. Ngayon, si Allah is siya yung nagturo ng Islamic practices. Hindi, siya yung God. Then, si Muhammad is the prophet o yung nagturo ng Islamic practices. Bali dito sa Islam is dapat iisa lang yung Diyos mo na tinitangala, isa lang yung sinasamba, which is si Allah. Yan, hindi sila pabor sa universalism. So, next topic will be local particularism. Local particularism refers to the emphasis on the unique characteristic, values, traditions, and identities of a specific locality or community. This concept is often contrasted with universalism, with focuses on commonalities and shared traits across different cultures and social societies. Local particularism highlights the importance of recognizing and persevering the distinctiveness of local culture, practices, and identities. Well, sa local particularism naman is yung ina-acknowledge lang nila is yung kanilang common path, common ground. Meaning, hindi sila pabor, hindi sila open-minded about sa iba't ibang bagay. Kaya contrasted siya sa universalism. Dito, kung ano lang yung kinasanayan nila, yun lang yung paniniwala nila. Kung ano yung ginagawa nila dati pa, ayun lang yung gagawin nila. Example of local particularism is, yun nga, one is language preservation. Bale, lahat dahil dito, napipreserve yung language nila dahil sa pagiging tight nila sa culture. Sa pagiging tight sa culture, kumbaga, hindi nila nabibitawan yung mga kinagisnan nila. Second is traditional festivals. Yan, lagi nila sineselebrate yung mga festivals, holidays, kahit ano pa yan. Basta significance, na basta kinasanayan ng local nila, ganun. Third is art and craft. Alam naman natin na sobrang hirap i-maintain ng art and craft, pero dahil sa local particularism is mapapadali pag-maintain ng mga local arts and crafts natin. Last is culinary traditions. Well, pagkain, hindi yan mawawala. Kung ano yung kinagisnan nila, ayun yung kinasanayan nila, panlasa nila, ganun. Meron yung sinabi is panlasa ng Pinoy, panlasa ng Amerikano, ganun lang yan. So, yun lang sa report ko. Salamat sa pakikinig.
So, hi guys, I'm Jazlyn Yvonne Balwarte. So, let's now move to the next topic, which is transnational religious communities. So, ano nga ba ito? Transnational religious communities ito yung mga group of people who share the same religion and maintain their religious identity and practices, even mag-migrate sila into different countries and parang nagiging stay connected pa rin sila sa original homeland nila, stay connected pa rin sila sa fellow believers nila through religious things and activities na ginagawa nila across borders. Yung still same pa rin na ginagawa nila yung mga routine ng pag-worship nila sa kanilang religious nila, so that ayun, stay connected pa rin sila. So yung transnational religious communities is merong formation and function. So what first is the formation? So formation, so sabi dito, transnational religious communities form when migrants maintain their religious identity and practices in a new country while staying connected with their original homeland and co-religionists abroad. So this is about how religious communities come into existence and maintain their presence even yun nga kaya sabi ko nila, maintain their presence even when their members move to different countries. So kaya sabi ko kanina, kahit saan man sila pumunta, yung isang person na religious person na yun is yung ginagawa nila na religious change is siyempre. So kaga na example dito is sabi, when Christian migrate to a new country, they form churches and religious groups, bringing their faith with them and stay connected with their original religious community. So yun nga yung example. So yung example nga sabi dito, yung Christian is nag-migrate into a new country. So yung form na ginagawa nila o yung isang Kristiyano na yun is nag-build siya ng churches and nag-form siya ng religious group. So that they can still bring their faith with them and stay connected sa original religious nila. No, parang hindi sila homesick sa religious nila, yung stay yung ganun, basta kahit saan sila mapunta stay connected pa rin sila sa kagaya ng ginawa nitong Christian. For example, is nag-form siya ng build or nag-form siya ng nag-build siya ng churches or nag-form siya ng religious group, so that ganun stay connected pa rin, ganun. And so sa function naman is sabi dito, this refers to the roles and activities that these religious communities perform regardless of where their members are located. It includes the religious practice, traditions, and community service they continue to engage in. So yun nga, yung function naman ng isang transnational religious communities is nag-refer siya sa roles and activities. So regardless kahit saan mapunta yung isang members, ay yung religious practices and tradition and community service is continue pa rin nilang ginagawa kahit saan man sila mapunta, no? So yung form kanina, no, so for example dito, no, Christian who have migrated to a new country continue to attend church services, celebrate religious holidays, and participate in community service, maintaining the religious practice and fulfilling the function of their faith, no? So for example nga, yung isang Christian na to is ayun nga, pumunta siya sa ibang bansa, then continue yung function na ginagawa niya sa Christian is continue siyang nag-attend ng services, church, sa-celebrate ng mga religious holidays, and nagka-participate siya ng community service, so that yung religious practice and fulfilling the function of their faith is continue niya pa rin na-fulfill yung faith na na ginagawa niya. Ganun, basta parang same kung ano mang ginagawa niya sa original homeland niya is ginagawa niya pa rin across border kahit saan siya mapunta. So yun lang naman yung base function ng isang transnational religious community. So yung forms and function is ayun, magkasama naman sila lagi, kasi ang pinaka point ng formation function is kahit saan man sila mapunta, ang ginagawa nila or kung ano mang gagawin nila bilang isang Kristiyano, na kung ano ginagawa nila dito sa kanilang original homeland is dapat nagagawa din nila kahit saan man sila mapunta, so that their faith and their beliefs, kung ano mang pinaniniwalaan nila is magiging stay connected pa rin sila at hindi mawawala yun. ganun lang po yung formation and functions. So, yun po. Thank you.
Hello, ako si Miko Rabino from USITS 2A. So, sunod naman, tatakal naman natin is yung cultural adaptations ng transnational religious community. So, let's start with the ritual and worship adaptation. So, religious practices and rituals may evolve to incorporate elements from local cultures while maintaining core beliefs. For example, the timing or style of prayers, music, or ceremonies may reflect to local traditions. So dito sa ritual and worship adaptations is kapag yung mga religious groups is nagpupunta sa iba't ibang places is nag-a-adapt sila ng mga prayers, music, or ceremonies na pwede nilang ihalo dun sa gagawin nilang tradition nila. Kunyari, for example is yung Hinduism sa Bali, Indonesia. So yung traditional Hindu nila is hinahaluan yun ng Balinese culture na may unique rituals, local dance, music, and the offerings. So ngayon, next is yung language and communication. Adapting religious texts, prayers, and teachings to local languages allows us for better understanding and integration within the communities. This linguistic adaptation also involved translating sacred texts or religious literature. So dito naman is yung many countries is nag-a-adapt sila ng languages sa mga iba't ibang prayers, religious texts, and teachings na ginagawa itong local languages para malaman natin or mas maintindihan natin. So, kunyari, yung mga iba't ibang bansa is kailangan nila yung iba't ibang bansa is supported na nito yung local Bible, local languages sa mga international Bibles natin dito na existing sa world natin. So ngayon naman, next natin is yung the social norms. Transnational religious communities may adjust their teachings or interpretations to align with local social norms and values. This adaptation helps in gaining acceptance and the relevance in different cultural contexts. So dito naman is ina-adapt yung cultures or religious practices among different countries. So, for example is, yung Buddhism is meron na sa West and yung mga Western Buddhist communities ay pinopromote nilang yung meditation and mindfulness na sumusunod sa mga local interest nila sa mental health natin and sa well-being. So, next natin is yung the community structure. So, dito naman is organizational structure or religious community adapt to fit legal, social, and cultural norms of different countries. This could include how leadership is chosen in community roles and are defined or how religious facilities are managed. So dito naman sa community structure is yung mga religious communities is na-organize nila na ayon sa rules and customs sa mga new places. For example na ito is yung Hinduism sa US is yung mga Hindu temples is doon mga Hindu temples is hinahandle ng committees na na-elect sa kanilang community. So next natin is the symbolism and the iconography. So ito sa symbols and icons natin is symbols and icons within the religious tradition may be adapted or reinterpreted to resonate with local cultural sensibilities while maintaining the religious significance. So dito naman sa religious symbols is yung mga yung mga religious symbols and images out there is nalalaman natin kung ano yung mga context nito. So for example, yung may religious symbol na ginagawa ng local artistic styles habang kinikip yung original meaning nito kasi nagagandahan sila doon. Ganun. Then next natin is yung festivals and celebrations. Religious festivals and celebrations often undergo adaptation to incorporate local customs or to emphasize certain aspects that are particularly relevant to the local community. So, ibig sabihin lang nito is na-adapt natin yung mga festive celebrations sa iba't ibang bansa. So, yung basic example nito for the festival and celebrations is yung Chinese New Year na ginaganap tuwing February 8 na nilolocalize natin as holiday. Ganun. So, next natin is yung ethical and moral guidance. Religious teachings on ethics, morality, and social issues adapted to address specific concerns or challenges based by community different cultural context. Ito naman is tinuturuan din tayo paano mga tama at mali sa mga ina-adapt nating religious practices or context. So for example is yung Christianity dito sa Pinas is tuturuan sila paano na ma-address yung social issues like the poverty, the human rights, and pinopromote din nila yung social justice natin dito. So next natin is yung education and outreach. Religious education programs may be tailored to reflect local educational standards and cultural values, ensuring that teachings are relevant and accessible to the members. Dito naman is natutulungan din tayo kung ano-ano yung mga local standards and cultural values dun sa specific religious context. For example is yung mga religious schools is tuturuan ng mga local history and custom kasama ng mga regular na religious studies nila. So, ibig sabihin is naghahalo-halo yung mga educations through religious context nun. So, ayun lang for the cultural adaptations and sana may natutunan kayo.
Hi, I am Christine May Picado and I will be reporting our next topic which is the religious transnationalism. So ano nga ba yung religious transnationalism? So religious transnationalism refers to the ways in which religious beliefs, practices, institutions, and identities extend across national boundaries. This concept highlights how religious activities and communities are not confined to a single geographic location but are instead spread across multiple countries, often due to migration and globalization. So, yung religious transnationalism, ito yung mga religious beliefs, practices natin as in our own religions na hindi lang nakakahon sa mga bansa natin. Instead, ito yung nag-spread siya sa iba't ibang bansa with the help of migration and globalization. So we have here four key aspects of religious transnationalism. So number one is yung religious communities. Ano nga ba yung religious communities? So religious communities, migrant communities often maintain their religious practices and institutions in their new countries while remaining connected to their religious traditions in their home countries. This can involve regular communication, visits, or the flow of religious materials and leaders between countries. So, yung religious communities, ito yung mga, kunyari, nag-migrate ako sa ibang bansa. And then, pinagpapatuloy ko doon yung mga religious practices na ginagawa ko usually here sa pinagmulan kong bansa. Then, yung mga migrant, which is yung mga nag-migrate doon, is nagsama-sama sila to perform that religious practices. And, isa na rin sa mga ways nila para still connected pa rin sila sa religions nila, sa home countries nila. Nagre-regular communication sila, visit, and yung flow ng religious materials nila, and yung mga leaders or yung mga priests nila. So next is religious leaders and networks. So religious leaders such as priests, imams, and rabbis often travel between countries to serve their transnational congregations. Additionally, religious organizations and networks operate on a global scale, facilitating connections among believers across different countries. So, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, yung mga leaders nila is nag-travel to different countries to serve then sa mga sa mga um, like yung kasama nila sa simbahan, ganon, sa mga religious practices. And yon yung katulad ng priests, imams, and rabbis nga. So, ayun, nagta-travel yung mga religious leaders. So, next is for our rituals and festivals. Religious rituals and festivals are celebrated by migrant communities in their new countries, often in ways that incorporate elements from both their home and host cultures. These events reinforce religious and cultural identities while fostering a sense of community among migrants. So, ayun, yung mga rituals and festivals na ginagawa nila, usually sa pinagmula nilang country, is ginagawa rin nila sa pinag-migratan nilang bansa. So, para like, na-feel pa rin nila yung kung saan sila galing and yung mga ginagawa nila doon sa pinagmula nilang bansa. Then, ito na rin yung nagsisilbing way para magkaroon ng bond yung mga migrant sa bansang nilipatan nila. So next is media and communication. So advances in technology and communication allow religious messages, sermons, and rituals to be broadcast across borders. Online platforms, social media, and satellite TV enable migrants to stay connected to their religious traditions and communities. Ayon, so with the help of fast technology na meron tayo ngayon, isa na rin tong way para yung mga nag-migrate sa ibang bansa is connected pa rin sila sa religious practices na ginagawa nila sa bansang pinagmulan nila. So, kunwari kasi yung for example, Facebook, yung Facebook ng Quiapo Church is regular nagla-live talaga sila ng mass nila. So, if nag-migrate ka sa ibang bansa, then lagi ka talaga nagsisimba sa Quiapo, pwede mong subaybayan pa rin yung mga mass nila doon by watching the live na ginagawa nila regularly. So, ayun. So, lastly, this is take note na lang, religious transnationalism underscores how religious life and practices are not confined by national borders, but are instead part of a dynamic global process influenced by migration, technology, and cultural exchange. So, ayun. So, yung religious transnationalism nga, ito yung nagde-describe na hindi lang sa iisang bansa na kakahon yung religions na meron yung mga tao, but instead sobrang malawak na neto, sobrang nag-i-spread na siya sa iba't ibang bansa with the help of migration, technology, and yung cultural exchange nga. That would be all for religious transnationalism. Thank you po.
So, what is globalization? So, the definition is globalization is a blend of worlds, globalization, and localization. It refers to the practice of conducting business according to both local and global considerations. So, when we say globalization, pinagsama siyang globalization and localization. When we say globalization, it is a develop of international influence. So, ibig sabihin, kumukuha tayo ng mga bagay from different countries, kaya tayo mas nakakabili ng mas murang gadget, o kaya naman, halimbawa, sa Netflix, nakakapanood tayo kahit it is from America. So, that is globalization. And when we say localization, it encourages us to spend locally. So, kasi kanina, internationally, ang localization is locally. So, pag pinagsama siya, it's called localization. So, for example, KFC and McDo. So dahil multi-corporated siya, ibig sabihin marami siyang nag-ooperate siya sa maraming bansa. Different country na pinupuntahan nila, nag-offer sila ng mas special menu para makiblend dun sa country na yon. Halimbawa, pag sa Philippines, pag may iba't ibang festival, nagko-conduct sila ng mga special menu na tinatawag. Or for example, um, McDo sa India, hindi sila nag-offer ng Big Mac kasi yung mga Hindu sa kanila, hindi sila kumakain ng beef dahil sa kanila sacred daw yun. So, para tumaas yung bumibili sa kanila or hindi madagdagan yung mga waste nila, hindi nila yun ino-offer. Nagkakaroon sila ng ibang menu na nakikipag-blend dun sa mga Indians. So, that is localization. Locally, pero globalized pa rin. So, andun pa rin yung brand ng McDo, pero biniblend nila locally. So, for example, sa Barbie, pag bumibili tayo ng Barbie, hindi naman lahat ay white skin tone. Madalas may morena, may blackish. So, localization. Dahil hindi naman nawawala yung brand na Barbie, nag-iiba lang ng culture, ay localization. So, let's see, ano ba yung history ng localization? So, the term localization itself has Japanese origins, emerging from the business practices in Japan during this period. So, meron silang tinatawag na dochakuka, meaning global localization. Localization. So, in 1980s, nagkaroon na-recognize yung tinatawag na multinational corporation, MNCs. Yan yung mga local markets na, kunyari, pag malaki na yung business mo, nagbabrand ka na din sa iba't ibang countries. And in 1990s, the term localization was popularized by sociologist Roland Robertson. So, next, in 2000s, companies like McDo, Coca-Cola, and Starbucks exemplified localization by adapting their products and marketing strategies. So, noong 2000s, nakilala na yung McDo, Coca-Cola, and Starbucks. Nag-globalize na din siya, pero ang nagsistay pa rin yung brand name niya. So, like McDo, Coca-Cola, Starbucks. Next, 2010s and present. Since ngayon, nagkakaroon na tayo ng mga social media, mas naging yung localization sa atin. So, for example, dahil sikat na yung social media or K-pop and BTS, paano ba nag-localize sila? So, even though Korean sila, para makuha yung masa, gumagawa sila ng iba't ibang tono. So, that is localization. Kasi, inaangat pa rin nila yung brand nila as a K-pop, Korean pop, pero at the same time, biniblend nila yung localized kung saan ka man napunta. So, for example, nag-rap na din sila, kakaroon na din sila ng R&B style na beats, and also K-dramas. So, si K-dramas, labeled siya as Korean drama, pero nagkakaroon siya ng mga subtitle and dubbed version to adapt locally. So, that is one of the example of localization. Kasi ng COVID-19, ayun, nagkaroon din ng necessities of localization as business had to navigate varying local regulation and consumers' behaviors. So, ayun, that's all. Thank you.
So, Easternization of the West. When we say Easternization of the West, it refers to the increasing influence and adoption of Eastern cultural, economic, and philosophical elements in Western societies. So, Easternization of the West, ito yung lumalagong influence ng Eastern culture sa Western societies. And at the same time, na-adapt ng Western societies tong Eastern cultures. So, in terms of cultural element, include dyan yung cuisine, mostly sa Asia, yung sushi and ramen and matcha tea. So, na-adapt na rin siya ng mga Western societies. And also yung entertainment, yung K-pop and K-drama. So, widely known naman na yung Asian entertainment, kagaya ng ganon. So, I think lahat naman ng society is meron ng nakakanood na ng K-drama and alam na rin nila yung K-pop. So, in terms of economic element naman, include dito yung business practices. Isa dito sa business practices is yung tinatawag ng Kaizen. So, when we say Kaizen, it is from practices ng mga Japanese. Kaizen means continuous improvement in life and work. So, Japanese is well known for being workaholic people. So, mahilig silang magtrabaho para maging successful sa buhay. And puro sila trabaho. I think na sa TikTok kasi nakita ko na halos wala na daw silang time sa pamilya nila kasi puro sila trabaho. Mas focus nila yung pagtaas ng rank nila sa work. And that business practice is na-adapt din ng mga Western societies sa Amerika. And also yung renewable energy resources nila para makatipid ng economic resources is na-adapt ng mga Western yung inventions or technologies. Kunwari ng Gold Wind Turbine from China and Mitsubishi Solar Power from Japan. So, widespread na yung paggamit ng solar power or solar energy sa Amerika. And mostly sa nakikita ko sa mga vlogs kasi nga mahal daw yung kuryente doon, mahal yung resource. So, para makatipid, inadapt na rin nila yung solar power, renewable energy resource para makatipid sa resources. And in terms of philosophical element, so include dyan yung mindful meditation and yoga from Hinduism and Buddhism practices. So yung meditation kasi parang ina-attain dito yung state of mind, parang ina-improve dito yung state of mind. So pinractice na rin yun ng mga Western culture. And also yung acupuncture and herbal medicines from Chinese. In the context of globalization, this concept highlights how global interconnectedness leads to a two-way exchange, where not only do Western companies adapt to Eastern markets, but Eastern practices, products, and ideas also permeate Western lifestyles and consumer habits. So when we say globalization, it means globalization plus localization. Pinaghalong globalization and localization. When we say globalization, ito yung interconnectedness ng mga bansa through trade, technology, and culture. So, nagpapalitan sila ng ideas, ng products and services, and ng culture. Kaya nagiging interconnectedness sila sa isa't isa. And when we say localization, ito yung pag-a-adapt or paglo-localize ng isang product or service sa isang bansa. So, halimbawa ng example ng globalization is yung McDo. McDo is widespread na may iba't iba siyang branch sa iba't ibang bansa. Trade siya, exchange siya ng products and services. So, papasok doon yung localization is kasi kailangan nilang i-localize yung product nila sa isang specific region or bansa. So, halimbawa, yung McDo sa India, nag-offer ng vegetarian options kasi yun yung dietary practices ng mga Indian people. Mahilig sila sa vegetarian. So, dapat veggies yung nasa option ng McDo in that country. So, nilolocalize nila yung product nila by having vegetarian options sa India. Sa Japanese naman, mahilig sila sa seafood. So, they offer shrimp and mga seafood flavor, seasonal flavor dun sa nila sa menu. And sa mga Middle East naman, McDo offers halal certified. So, dapat kasi yung kinakain ng mga Muslim is halal, meaning walang pork meat, walang baboy. So, dapat nako-comply nila yung Islamic dietary laws dun sa menu nila. So, dapat halal lahat ng food. So, nilolocalize nila yun in terms of nilolocalize nila yung product nila sa Middle East by having halal certified products. And sa Chinese naman, yung menu nila pwedeng magkaroon ng rice porridge and soy milk kasi yun yung yun yung preference ng mga Chinese people. So, ayun yung example ng localization. Parang nilolocalize nila yung product nila into specific region ayon sa preferences and yung practices na meron yung country na yun. So, paano nasabing two-way exchange? So, example na natin kanina, yung Western companies, kagaya ng McDo, hindi lang McDo yung na-adapt ng mga Eastern markets, but also yung practices, ideas, and products from Eastern, kagaya nung kanina yung ramen, sushi, matcha tea, K-pop, K-drama, Kaizen, meditation, yung Eastern practices na yun, products and ideas, is also nagkaroon ng influence sa Western lifestyles and consumer habits. So, ayun yung context ng palitan. So, Easternization of the West again is yung nagkaroon ng impact or nagkaroon ng influence and na-adapt ng mga Western. Yung Eastern culture, economy, philosophy, practices, ideas, and products. So, there's other examples of Easternization of West, kagaya ng bubble tea originating from Taiwan has gained significant following in Western cities, leading to the proliferation of bubble tea shops. So, lumago din yung tinatawag na bubble tea from Taiwan. So, lahat naman na yata tayo is nakatikim na ng milk tea. Yun yung milk tea na may pearl, mga ganun. And K-pop naman, so BTS and Blackpink, kilala naman siya globally and pasok pa nga yun sa Spotify And yung mga e-commerce platforms like Alibaba and Tencent's WeChat is nagkaroon ng influence sa Western economy, sa Western e-commerce practices and app development. So, ayun lang for my part.
Magandang gabi, classmates. Magandang gabi, ma'am. Ako nga po pala si Josh Cimentan na magre-report ng forms of global religion. So, dito sa global religion, i-discuss ko yung types niya. At syempre, bago tayo dumako dun is, pupunta muna tayo kung ano yung global religion. So, hindi ko na siya babasahin para i-explain ko na lang siya sa inyo para mas maintindihan niyo. So, yung global religion refers of how global religious beliefs, practice, and institution interact with local culture. Ang hina-highlights nito kung paano nag-i-spread globally and nag-a-adapt yung local culture sa global culture. In example dito is, yung sa atin, sinakop tayo ng Spain. Yung culture nila is, na-adapt natin yung culture about sa religion. Isa yun. Kung paano nag-interact yung global at local sa religion. So, sa next slide is, i-discuss ko na yung types. Dito, mas mapapalawak natin siya. So, next is indigenization. So, dito naman sa indigenization, ito yung process yung global religious beliefs and practice are blended with local culture and tradition and worldwide views. So, pwedeng example dito is yung sa Latin America, yung Christianity dun nagbe-blend sa indigenous beliefs and practice doon sa Mexico. So, sa Mexico is may Christianity din. Yung beliefs nila at beliefs ng Amerika is naghahalo. Hindi siya nakaka-create ng bagong beliefs but nakaka-adapt siya. So, dito tayo next sa vernacularization. So, dito sa vernacularization is yung mga rituals nila or mga language nila is nata-translate to local languages para mas maintindihan natin. Ang aim nito is para maging accessible siya and diverse siya sa community natin. Yung mga sacred text is tina-translate nila yan para sa language na maintindihan natin. For example na lang, yung Bible is hindi naman talaga siya originally na English yung language nun. But ginawa siyang English para mas maintindihan ng nakakarami since maraming tao ang nakakaintindi sa English rather than dun sa origin language nun. At pwede rin na example dun is yung sa Bible natin. May Bible na tayo dito sa Pilipinas na Tagalog. Meron na nga ring Bisaya eh. Speaking from experience dahil nakabasa na ako. And ganun din sa Muslim. Hindi rin naman English yung Bible nila. But tinranslate ito sa local language natin para mas maintindihan natin. Next is nationalization. So dito sa nationalization is yung global religious is nire-relate siya sa socio-political context ng state. Dito parang yung isang religious na kunyari is meron ditong na-build na isang church. Ay example natin yung sa Pilipinas, yung church dito na binild sa may I forgot the exact location pero nasa Pilipinas siya. Sinisignify yun as church, independent church dahil yun yung nagsi-symbolize ng values natin as a Roman Catholic na Pilipino. Kaya siya naging ganun since yung Spain sinakop tayo. Even though na-influence tayo alam kong hindi talaga galing sa atin yung Christianity, na-influence lang tayo ng Spain. Pero gumawa tayo ng adaptation na mas mapapadali sa atin. Tas nanggaling yun sa church na yun. Kaya mayroon yung values ng Filipino pride natin at ina-identify rin natin yun sa nation natin as ayun nga, independent church. So next is transnationalization. So dito yung globalization of religious movement. Ang movement nito is kung paano kinakalat nila yung religious practice nila. For example, yung Muslim is hindi lang naman sa isang country yun, kundi worldwide spread yun. Paano ba nag-spread yun? Nag-spread yun through mga people lang din. May nagmamigrate doon. Tapos papangaralan, may influence sila. Tapos syempre, pag na-influence sila, possible na pumasok sila sa religion na yun. Ganoon rin sa Catholic. Mas lalo na yun sa Christianity. Napakalawak ng widespread nun. 52% ng religion is Christianity. At hindi lang naman yun na-influence syempre dahil lang sa nagbasa sila. Hindi naman agad-agad may influence ang tao doon. So syempre may mga tinatawag na mga pastors or mga priests, mga pari na pumupunta sa iba't ibang bansa para ikalat ang word of God. Pero sa panahon natin ngayon, yung internet natin, pwede na yun mag-cause ng spread sa religious practice and beliefs para mas ma-recruit rather than recruit para mas maraming maligtas or mas maraming maniwala sa beliefs nila. So, ayun lamang ang report ko. Thank you for listening. Bye.